Hello everyone, welcome back. This is MLA Canada's Year in Review. This is video 3. We're going to talk about the pre-sale market and the resale market. What happened in 2020?
Well, 2020 was an unusual year, right? In terms of project launches, we saw 110 come into the marketplace. That's unusual, but actually very much in line with what happened in 2019, right? But you have to remember that 2019 was one of the worst years on record in the last 2 decades when it comes to overall volumes. Primarily because many of the policy adjustments that we had seen both federally and provincially had huge impacts on buyer sentiment and buyer demand in Metro Vancouver and the Fraser Valley. Now, when we compare 110 projects to what maybe years just before that looked like, in 2015 we saw 145 projects, and 2016 and 2017 we were closer to that 200 project mark, and so obviously a big discount from where we were used to being over the previous few years. I think the big shifts, though, of course, were COVID driven, right? And so much of this was around the way that we consumed, the way that we had to distance, and also the way that we had to participate in the transaction. Everything changed, right, as policy set in around restrictions, and we had to find new ways of understanding what homes were right for our audiences, and then also new ways of understanding how we can manage that transaction in a really safe way. So over 8,500 units released in the Greater Vancouver, 2,700 released in the Fraser Valley, and that's just the pre-sale marketplace.
Yeah, and if you've been watching the pre-sale pulse for the past few months,
which you better have been doing.
Yeah, exactly. You already know that, of course, on the resale side, we saw incredible positive momentum. Again, 2019, latter half of 2018, we definitely saw this slowdown in the market, and all of the stats really suggest that, because then as we moved into 2020, we saw this sort of perfect storm of end users with pent-up demand who had genuine needs in the marketplace. They needed new housing. They need an office for their work from home suddenly. They need a rec room to put their gym equipment because maybe they're not going to the gym anymore. They need outside space for their kids. All of this is happening. They have a genuine need. Mortgage rates are low. They've been sitting on the sidelines now for a while. Flight to space happened, and people upgraded their homes and their living situations. And all of that, of course, made the resale data trend upwards. We saw a 22% increase in sales in Greater Vancouver over 2019. That was up 25% in 2018. In the Fraser Valley, those numbers were 29% up over 2019 and 28% increase over 2018. So again, just a massive shift in the positive direction in terms of sales volumes. We saw benchmark prices 4.6% in Greater Vancouver and 7.8% in Fraser Valley. Again, no surprise that we saw Fraser Valley prices increase more than Greater Vancouver because of that flight to space, people moving east looking for more size. And again, the other talking point here really is, yes, 2020 surprised us all. It was the market that we actually needed. It was the market that we went into 2020 wanting, in terms of just sales absorptions improving, but it also just highlights how bad 2019 were and the latter half of 2018.
Right, and I guess if you were to really take a step back and summarize it, you have a flight to space, you have a blooming of online content to be able to support an online transaction, and you have commute times that have either been cut in half or removed, right? For the most part, we've seen an unhinging between home and work, and that's really opened up new markets. And our expectation for 2021 and 2022 is that rural markets that are able to offer affordability, they're able to offer space, that will be the premium today, but that will shift dramatically over the next 12 to 24 months, because so much of our life today is focused around our immediate needs, but the social connectivity that we have all been accustomed to throughout our life is hard to replace. And so many believe that the luxury that we'll really begin to search for and yearn for over the next 12 to 24 months will be recreating the lives that we've had to leave behind pre-COVID and recreating that in new neighborhoods in a really exciting way.
Yeah, there's going to be some things that obviously carry on, post-COVID, touchless entries and elevators and things like that likely we're never going back to. But I think the one thing we all feel pretty clear on is that human beings are social creatures. We really do need each other, and therefore when those floodgates open, we're really going to be craving and desiring that sense of community, the belonging, being able to gather with their friends and family and loved ones. We're going to want to really increase the connectivity we have with the people around us, and those in-person experiences are going to be really valuable, and people are going to be longing for that and searching for that.
So the thought moving forward is to take a step back and to remember those moments in time where everyone is moving in one direction, and the belief is that the past life that was being lived is no longer applicable, and that's just proved not to be true in March, April, and May. There was a belief that real estate values would crumble. There was a belief that economies would crumble, and there was a belief that the path back would be long for the industry. And what we found is that it responded really quickly. And our expectation is that will continue to happen. Today, everyone is flocking towards affordability-driven spaces. And rural is more important than urban in many people's hearts. But there will be an unlocking of wave of demand, primarily opened up internationally with airport travel. And so our belief is that urban centers will light up in 2021. Our belief is that it's not different this time. But the moment in time is unique, and if we can all give some perspective, the really interesting trends are going to be urban centers, reestablishing values, and from that perspective, affordability in places like Coquitlam, or in Brentwood, or in Richmond, are some of the lowest that you can expect them to be over the next 5 years, with low interest rates and with the likelihood that all of us will return to portions of the previous lives that we left behind. We think that concrete, and we think that master plan that checks those boxes are going to continue to thrive over the next 2 to 3 years.
On that note, that really recaps the market summary quite well. We talked about pre-sale, we talked about resale. Of course, please feel free to go back, watch the pre-sale pulses from before. Make sure you're tuning into those monthly moving forward. Right now, we're going to move on to some market insights. This is our key learnings, our key takeaways for the year. That's going to be in the next video, so stay tuned for that.